Rite of Passage, the podcast with Giabra Martin.
Good evening and welcome to this bonus episode. I just wanted to throw this one together really quick. After my podcast with author Andrew Lyons, and shout out to Andrew Lyons, by the way, I had this epiphany about why fiction writing matters. And I kind of went down a psychological rabbit hole thinking this over. And I wanted to make a quick video. Fiction writing, in my opinion, is as important as philosophy, if not more. And I will explain to you exactly why. So, if you're a very practical thinker, you might say, I don't read fiction because I only deal in real life. Well, here's the problem. If you're reading a history book, it can tell you exactly what happened, right? Like what happened in World War II? Where were the battles? Where did these things take place? Who were the players? None of it can tell you why. But fiction writing can tell you why things happen. They can tell you what is in the hearts and minds of people, what motivates people, what makes them tick, why do people do what they do. Fiction writing can provide that. Let's say you're reading an autobiography, okay, for example, and you're like, Abraham Lincoln was born in a log cabin in rural Kentucky. Immediately, it is not about your life. When we're talking about fiction, though, if a fiction book opens with, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, suddenly this book is about the French Revolution, but it is also about your life. It is about the life of everyone you've ever met. It is about your parents' lives. It's the story of your generation and their parents' generation, all the way back to the French Revolution, and even before that, all the way back to the Roman times, to the Greek times, to the time of Jesus. Opening a book with "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times" is a description of everyone's life throughout time. That is the reality of our lives on Earth. Okay. What I'm arguing here is that to a degree, fiction writing, very good fiction writing, is actually more real than real life. Real life stories are about one event or, the events of one person in one place at one time or one span of a couple of years. Fiction writing can be about humanity across time, the timeless truths of the human condition, the timeless truths of our journey through life from start to finish, all the things we get right and wrong, all the things we have to learn the hard way, all the mountains that we climb, all the struggles that we face, all the good and evil that is within us, that is within the world that we have to confront, that we have to conquer. Fiction writing can do all of this. And in this way, it is more real than nonfiction. Here is an example, and this is what was inspired by author Andrew Lyons, based on his first book, for clarification. Here is something that many philosophers get wrong, as well as politicians and every single tyrant and dictator. But the fiction authors almost never get this wrong. The tyrants and the philosophers, which I'm not saying they're the same thing by any means, but they get this wrong together frequently. They say the ends justify the means. So, for example, let's say our intention is after a revolution, we are going to create a utopia. And the utopia that we are going to create is so important that whatever happens during the revolution is completely justified. All manner of evil, innocent people getting hurt, in the crossfire, innocent people being convicted of crimes they didn't commit, all manner of, even if we're oppressed, I mean, now we're behaving like our oppressors. And this is one of these things that's very striking about A Tale of Two Cities. The story opens with like pre-French Revolution, France and England. And there's one scene that stuck out in my head where like, some nobles are riding around in a carriage and they run over a little boy and they're almost more concerned about like the damage to their cart than the child. If I'm remembering correctly, the impression I had was the complete indifference of the ruling class to the peasantry. But what is so striking is after the peasantry took power, they were just as brutal and cold, if not more so, than their oppressors. And they were executing, sending everyone to the guillotine, even people who like maybe even worked in the homes of the aristocrats. Like, hey, you are guilty by its association. If you even have a drop of blood in your veins that resembles these people, you are guilty. The fiction authors get this right constantly, that the skeletons never stay in the closet, that the blood underneath the carpet always finds a way to soak through. You see this all the time. The most famous example being Crime and Punishment, but Andrew Lyons got this right in his book. You see this frequently, that let's say there's a character who has a very bright future and something terrible happens, there's an accident or this person makes a mistake. And because the future is so bright, they try to do everything they can to cover up that crime. Like, if I can get through this moment, anything is justified to get me past this because the future is so important. It's so much bigger than this moment. But fiction authors do not get this wrong. That blood doesn't come off your hands. Those skeletons do not stay in the closet. The process of trying to cover up these crimes ruins, this end game. Like, you cannot build a beautiful structure on a corrupt foundation, essentially. And the Eastern philosophers get this right as well. They say only the right actions paired with the right intentions will yield the right results. I believe that 100%. And I cannot think of an occasion where a fiction author has gotten this wrong, where like a character does something horrible but gets away with it and then goes on to do something extraordinary because they got away with it. Somehow, intuitively, the fiction authors know that that is not how things work. All of this is to say, and this is where, for me, it gets particularly interesting. In Greek mythology, in the mystery schools of the Eleusinian mysteries, where they use the story of Demeter, Persephone, and Hades to kind of like quietly convey their wisdom, where the public thought this was a story about the four seasons and why, the sun comes and goes and why the crops come and go and why we have winter and summer. But they understood that it was a metaphorical story about the human soul being kind of trapped inside the body. Anyway, where this is relevant to us is in their story, Demeter goes into the underworld, into Hades, searching for her daughter Persephone. And when she goes into the dark, into the unknown, she has two torches to guide her way. And those torches are intuition and reason. And it is very important that intuition is listed first. And in my own personal experience, there have been many occasions where my reason, all my thinking, all my logic has steered me away, and my gut, my intuition, my instincts were right all along, and I should not have doubted them. You absolutely need both, but it is no accident that the Greeks listed them in this order, that is, intuition and reason, instead of saying it is reason and intuition. Where this is relevant to our discussion here is that the philosophers are all reason, and the fiction writers are all intuition. And the fiction writers get this principle correct, where the philosophers and tyrants and dictators and politicians all get it wrong. That is why fiction writing matters. Our art form is extraordinary. It is beautiful. It is more real than people can possibly understand. It is sacred. I think it is a gift. If you were born with this dream of writing, honor that, cultivate it, write your book. Even if it looks like no one's reading it, even if you only have 10 readers, for all you know, those 10 readers who read your book are the 10 exact people who absolutely needed to hear what you needed to say. For all you know, you made a major impact on the lives of 10 people who are going to go out and make an impact on the lives of 10 more people, who will make an impact on the lives of 10 more people beyond that. As a fiction writer, you will never see the full ripples of your good works, but have faith. Believe me, this work matters. Your art form matters. It is sacred. You are sacred. And I love you.